If impact had a face, what would it look like? At AUC School of Business, we don't predict the future of business education. We shape it through empowered generations, our journey of ongoing transformation and legacy of academic excellence stretches the boundaries for a better tomorrow, where impact is limitless. For 75 years, we have been going the extra mile to transform vision into reality, reimagining our programs, partnering with the business community, empowering our learners with the knowledge, agility, and adaptability needed to maximize their potential, to step into the global market as impactful leaders, ready to reimagine the future of business. Far beyond our community, country, and region. AUC School of Business, transforming minds, limitless impact. If impact had a face, what would it look like? At AUC School of Business, we don't predict the future of business education. We shape it through empowered generations, our journey of ongoing transformation and legacy of academic excellence stretches the boundaries for a better tomorrow, where impact is limitless. For 75 years, we have been going the extra mile to transform vision into reality, reimagining our programs, partnering with the business community, empowering our learners with the knowledge, agility, and adaptability needed to maximize their potential, to step into the global market as impactful leaders, ready to reimagine the future of business. Far beyond our community, country, and region. AUC School of Business, transforming minds, limitless impact. If impact had a face, what would it look like? At AUC School of Business, we don't predict the future of business education. We shape it through empowered generations, our journey of ongoing transformation and legacy of academic excellence stretches the boundaries for a better tomorrow, where impact is limitless. For 75 years, we have been going the extra mile to transform vision into reality, reimagining our programs, partnering with the business community, empowering our learners with the knowledge, agility, and adaptability needed to maximize their potential, to step into the global market as impactful leaders, ready to reimagine the future of business. Far beyond our community, country, and region. AUC School of Business, transforming minds, limitless impact. If impact had a face, what would it look like? At AUC School of Business, we don't predict the future of business education. We shape it through empowered generations, our journey of ongoing transformation and legacy of academic excellence stretches the boundaries for a better tomorrow, where impact is limitless. For 75 years, we have been going the extra mile to transform vision into reality, reimagining our programs, partnering with the business community, empowering our learners with the knowledge, agility, and adaptability needed to maximize their potential, to step into the global market as impactful leaders, ready to reimagine the future of business. Far beyond our community, country, and region. AUC School of Business, transforming minds, limitless impact. If impact had a face, what would it look like? At AUC School of Business, we don't predict the future of business education. We shape it through empowered generations, our journey of ongoing transformation and legacy of academic excellence stretches the boundaries for a better tomorrow, where impact is limitless. For 75 years, we have been going the extra mile to transform vision into reality, reimagining our programs, partnering with the business community, empowering our learners with the knowledge, agility, and adaptability needed to maximize their potential, to step into the global market as impactful leaders, ready to reimagine the future of business. Far beyond our community, country, and region. AUC School of Business, transforming minds, limitless impact. If impact had a face, what would it look like? At AUC School of Business, we don't predict the future of business education. We shape it through empowered generations, our journey of ongoing transformation and legacy of academic excellence stretches the boundaries for a better tomorrow, where impact is limitless. For 75 years, we have been going the extra mile to transform vision into reality, reimagining our programs, partnering with the business community, empowering our learners with the knowledge, agility, and adaptability needed to maximize their potential, to step into the global market as impactful leaders, ready to reimagine the future of business. Far beyond our community, country, and region. AUC School of Business, transforming minds, limitless impact. If impact had a face, what would it look like? At AUC School of Business, we don't predict the future of business education. We shape it through empowered generations, our journey of ongoing transformation and legacy of academic excellence stretches the boundaries for a better tomorrow, where impact is limitless. For 75 years, we have been going the extra mile to transform vision into reality, reimagining our programs, partnering with the business community, empowering our learners with the knowledge, agility, and adaptability needed to maximize their potential, to step into the global market as impactful leaders, ready to reimagine the future of business. Far beyond our community, country, and region. AUC School of Business, transforming minds, limitless impact. If impact had a face, what would it look like? At AUC School of Business, we don't predict the future of business education. We shape it through empowered generations, our journey of ongoing transformation and legacy of academic excellence stretches the boundaries for a better tomorrow, where impact is limitless. For 75 years, we have been going the extra mile to transform vision into reality, reimagining our programs, partnering with the business community, empowering our learners with the knowledge, agility, and adaptability needed to maximize their potential, to step into the global market as impactful leaders, ready to reimagine the future of business. Far beyond our community, country, and region. AUC School of Business, transforming minds, limitless impact. If impact had a face, what would it look like? At AUC School of Business, we don't predict the future of business education. We shape it through empowered generations, our journey of ongoing transformation and legacy of academic excellence stretches the boundaries for a better tomorrow, where impact is limitless. For 75 years, we have been going the extra mile to transform vision into reality, reimagining our programs, partnering with the business community, empowering our learners with the knowledge, agility, and adaptability needed to maximize their potential, to step into the global market as impactful leaders, ready to reimagine the future of business. Far beyond our community, country, and region. AUC School of Business, transforming minds, limitless impact. If impact had a face, what would it look like? At AUC School of Business, we don't predict the future of business education. We shape it through empowered generations, our journey of ongoing transformation and legacy of academic excellence stretches the boundaries for a better tomorrow, where impact is limitless. For 75 years, we have been going the extra mile to transform vision into reality, reimagining our programs, partnering with the business community, empowering our learners with the knowledge, agility, and adaptability needed to maximize their potential, to step into the global market as impactful leaders, ready to reimagine the future of business. Far beyond our community, country, and region. AUC School of Business, transforming minds, limitless impact. If impact had a face, what would it look like? At AUC School of Business, we don't predict the future of business education. We shape it through empowered generations, our journey of ongoing transformation and legacy of academic excellence stretches the boundaries for a better tomorrow, where impact is limitless. For 75 years, we have been going the extra mile to transform vision into reality, reimagining our programs, partnering with the business community, empowering our learners with the knowledge, agility, and adaptability needed to maximize their potential, to step into the global market as impactful leaders, ready to reimagine the future of business. Far beyond our community, country, and region. AUC School of Business, transforming minds, limitless impact. If impact had a face, what would it look like? At AUC School of Business, we don't predict the future of business education. We shape it through empowered generations, our journey of ongoing transformation and legacy of academic excellence stretches the boundaries for a better tomorrow, where impact is limitless. For 75 years, we have been going the extra mile to transform vision into reality, reimagining our programs, partnering with the business community, empowering our learners with the knowledge.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Would like to welcome you all to the 4th edition of AUC Business Forum. If you can please be seated, we would like to start on time.
Far beyond our community, country.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to have your attention, please. Speakers and participants of our first roundtable, Sustainable Finance, if you can please be seated. There are name tags on the tables. We're going to start shortly. If we can have the observers seated at the back. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to Wafa Sabri, Director of External Relations at the AUC School of Business. I welcome everyone to our 4th edition of AUC Business Forum. Today, our first roundtable is on sustainable finance. And I welcome all the speakers, participants, and observers for our first roundtable. I would like first to play a short video about the school.
If impact had a face, what would it look like? At AUC School of Business, we don't predict the future of business education. We shape it through empowered generations, our journey of ongoing transformation and legacy of academic excellence stretches the boundaries for a better tomorrow, where impact is limitless. For 75 years, we have been going the extra mile to transform vision into reality, reimagining our programs, partnering with the business community, empowering our learners with the knowledge, agility, and adaptability needed to maximize their potential, to step into the global market as impactful leaders, ready to reimagine the future of business. Far beyond our community, country, and region. AUC School of Business, transforming minds, limitless impact. If impact.
I would like now to call Dean Sharif Kamel to give our opening remarks.
Thank you, Afa. Salah al-khair alaykum jami'an. So, good morning, everybody. I know we're a bit far from downtown. Many people live on the other side of town, but we will have to start on time out of respect to all those who made it on time. I'll start with a very quick introduction about the forum and why we are doing the forum and why it is not open and why it's only by invitation. So we started the series of the forum back in February 2020. And, well, guess what? Believe it or not, the theme back then was disruption. Obviously, you all know what happened after February 2020 with COVID. So many people say we called it. But anyway, called it or not, I think we're living in a disruptive world. The structure of the forum is by inviting people from academia, government, civil society, policy making. We have an intense conversation for 2 hours, each and every round table to inform the different stakeholders at the school of how we can keep on updating and upgrading our offerings so that we remain relevant and timely. So the discussions that took place on campus and online since we started in 2020 had impact on several of the degree programs we shaped, activities that we do on campus or for community development, and research that we focus on. So that's why we consider these conversations that we have throughout each and every roundtable as important, because as I said, the same word and I'm repeating it again, it's informing us through the contact with industry and government and civil society and business where we should go from here. So very quickly, just to give you an idea, in the first round, first edition, 2020, we focused on the future of business and management education within a disruptive world, the entrepreneurial ecosystem in the MENA region, inclusive development and the impact of the fourth industrial revolution, business reconfigured and the extreme importance of lifelong learning. We can call it professional development, we can call it lifelong learning, we can call it executive education, we can call it training. At the end of the day, this is becoming a must, not even a luxury, not even an option. And last but not least, responsible business. You would realize that there are three overarching themes in these roundtables of the first edition back in 2020 that reflect the three main themes of the school. And they are entrepreneurship and innovation, economic development, and responsible business. Moving on to the second business forum in 2021, the theme was transformation. It was COVID time, it was online, so we opted to go for three roundtables. One was a student perspective of training in management, training and education in business and management as we move forward, tapping into the world of the future of work, which was the topic of the second roundtable. The third is the impact of the disruption on the community and the role of schools of business moving forward. Moving on to last year, the third edition. This was more of an expanded and diverse portfolio of topics, again, keeping up with the tech-enabled entrepreneurial ecosystem, the future of corporate learning and development, the role that we can play in Africa when it comes to responsible management education, the transition that business schools are trying around the world to go through to be able to be relevant in an extremely accelerating and changing world where issues like SDGs, ESGs, climate, and the like are becoming part and parcel of the of business and management education. Well, it's nice to have them as slogans, but are we ready to offer them? Are the faculty ready to teach those courses, not with a sort of just scratching the surface, but with in-depth content, research, cases, and the like? Inclusive development always features in what we do, because for 104 years, AUC offerings are not just for the 7,000 students enrolled, but the magnitude of the impact on the community, on average, reaches at least 250,000, if not 500,000, or close to 500,000 every year. And that's through multiple activities and projects across campus. And we play a good 25 to 30% of that figure. Moving on to this year, the theme is the changing role of business schools in a globally dynamic and transformative environment. You would realize that you probably heard that term in other circles and in other roundtables and in other conferences. But that's how we are operating these days. I mean, long-term planning is becoming really short-term planning because you can't really see in front of you many, many years down the road. So the conversation we're having throughout the next 3 days will be in the form of 5 different roundtables. We're starting off with this one on an area that is becoming absolutely important because it tackles virtually every aspect of our lives and livelihoods, sustainable finance. And that's a very wide, 40,000 feet theme when it goes down to the role of society, the role of government, the role of business, the role of educators like ourselves. There is complementarity, but also there are support environment that needs to take place. We try to play our role as a main stakeholders in society when it comes to sustainable finance. Next will be a roundtable on family business. It comes under the slogan I shared with you a few minutes ago, entrepreneurship and innovation. Family business is big and it can become bigger. But how about the issues related to governance and management, multi-generation businesses? What do they do? How do they function? Is it really, is there proper governance frameworks or not? What needs to be done? How can we help? Always think we're doing those roundtables with a lens of how can we help as a business school. We're not going to, definitely not going to do everything under the sun, but from the window of a business school, how we can work together, regardless of the stakeholder in society, to be able to have an impact. And then moving back to something that is very close to the school's operation, which is lifelong learning, is the micro-credentials. Everybody's talking about micro-credentials these days. And I can promise you, being part of an education institutions, the level, importance of degree programs in the next 10 years or so is going to diminish. The concepts, knowledge, experience coming through different capacities and skills and programs will be as important, if not more important. And then comes the role of micro-credentials. Moving on to case studies as an integral pedagogical approach on addressing the nitty-gritty details of what happens in the market, especially in Egypt and in our region, and the regions that we serve. And when I say regions that we serve, I mean the Middle East and Africa. And again, as I said, last but not least, the importance of Sustainable Development Goals. And that is a huge spectrum. I can promise you, we will never be able as a business school to address all 17 SDGs. Not a single business school does that in the world. But then what are the ones that for us, operating in Egypt, which of these would count more and will be more impactful to impact policy? So you could realize we have a number of institutions within the school where the mandate is to showcase and advocate on certain issues to be able to try to impact policy. So I want to be sort of respectful to the time because we have a busy schedule and we have to finish on time to move on to the next roundtable. As I said, this is very important to us. I thank you all for joining us today. We're not going to do an introduction for each and every roundtable, but this is an introduction for the entire forum, and I'm happy that you guys are present here today to listen to the overview that we've had. So all in all, in the past three forums, excluding this year's, we've had 13 roundtables, 92 speakers from 15 countries. And I'm saying those figures only to showcase that we are very selective in the people we invite. You would realize even the observers are by invitation. So it's not open. We don't even out loud market for it, because that's not the objective. The objective is to listen to you guys in the coming 2 hours, at least in the context of this roundtable, and understand and learn what are the directions to be able to inform our programs. So the last thing I want to say, which is very important, this whole series would not have taken place without the generous support of the Will W. Brown International Business Leadership Endowment, which has been supporting the school since 2001. So it's quite a journey. So I'm very grateful for the endowment to be able to help us conduct this forum. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it over to the chair of the session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dean Kamel, and thank you very much for accepting our invitation and coming to the American University in Cairo. And this is the first roundtable about a topic that is highly complex, and sustainable finance is one of the key issues that is affecting many businesses, policymakers, and at the same time researchers in academia. I'd like to put emphasis on the fact that Dr. Sharif and I have been working on preparation of this roundtable, but at the same time there was a large group of people who were supporting us. I really want to thank them for all the support. We have two distinguished guests and speakers, Dr. Dari Abdelkader from CIB, Chief Sustainability Officer of the largest private commercial bank in Egypt, and Ms. Maisa Bedier, I apologize for my pronunciation, from PwC, who is offering us a broad and holistic view to the complexity. We need a holistic approach to sustainable finance. That's the reason why we are very happy that you are with us today, Ms. Maisa. Thank you so much. Dr. Khaled is an icon in the field of accounting, and we are excited that Dr. Khaled Tahawi is going to moderate, and thank you very much, Dr. Khaled. It's the beginning of a journey that we go through, and after this meeting, we are going to have work groups, continuing focusing on the topic sustainable finance. And I really want to engage you to stay in touch with us and maybe continue our journey with you. Thank you for everyone coming, and Dr. Khalid.
Welcome everybody, and thank you for coming today. We are really blessed to have this type of discussion in a lifetime where the accounting solution to liquid waste was denial, where we started a couple of years back, to talking about something as impressive as moving to sustainability accounting. I think we are really starting something that is well and important and highly needed. We have everybody in the room, from regulators to educators to investors to auditors, all the stakeholders, which was the idea of having this round table. We have two impressive speakers that are going to cover two sides of the story and complement each other. We're going to have 15 minutes for each speaker to present, starting with Dr. Dalia, then Ms. Maisa. And then we're going to have 2 minutes of discussions as we go. The idea of having 2 minutes is to capture as much as possible of the discussion. I've tried to set the questions around 3 main topics. The one is planning, setting the roadmap as we are starting today. The second, to talk about the frameworks and the different standards and the competition that's there in the market as we speak today. Finally, the implementation and how it is important, and it is also not one size fits all, but there is always environmental factors that affect implementation. Having said that, and not to waste any of our time, I would like Dr. Dalia to please start. Thank you very much. You have 15 minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid, Dr. Sharif, Dr. Nawa. On behalf of CIB, I would like to welcome you and thank you all for being with us today, discussing such a crucial topic, which is the integration of sustainability disclosures in the integrated financial reporting standards. And I would really like to thank the AUC for Business School for being at the forefront, driving change and progressive thought. I much appreciate the fact that 9 years ago, I wrote an article in the AUC Business Review titled Humanizing Finance, From Profit-Making to Value Creation. That was in the summer of 2014. If I regret anything, it is that I lacked the persistence and the stamina to call for such a roundtable and bring this level of expertise to be proactive and preemptive, driving change, rather than having to react and adapt to a change, to be able to create our own narrative and context. However, if it doesn't kill us, it makes us stronger. And with this in mind, we want to agree and align that our purpose today is to be prepared to collaborate, to be prepared to implement 2 sustainability disclosures that will be released in second quarter of 2022, and more so to be proactive and to start to enact and drive change that suits our context and narrative again. We are going through system transformation. Everything is fluid. So if we don't take the lead, we will not be there. This being said, luckily, fortunately, this roundtable is harbored by accounting gurus, Dr. Khalid, Ms. Maisa, and many others, regulators and consultants. My part would be to bring a practitioner's perspective from the banking sector with a focus on the experience of CIB. What I would like to stress here, reflecting on the new standards, there are 3 major fundamental shifts, transformations, that not only impact our reporting and disclosures, but more so impact how we do our business. They would trigger fundamental transformation in our policies, strategies, risk and return approach, fundamental. It's not about reporting. Reporting is the tail, the end of the journey. So the first transformation is the increasing importance of sustainability. Now, sustainability is moving from the realm of reporting to the realm of financial disclosures. So it's no longer this optional reporting, it's not even this mandatory reporting, it's becoming part and parcel of our financial statements. The IFRS did so because they had to respond to the call of global investors who wanted to have a global baseline of sustainability disclosures to be able to allocate their capital. Why? Because now it's an established conviction that managing ESG risks and returns is mandatory, is essential to maintain the value of a company, to maintain the financial value of a company. That's why investors want to make sure that the corporates they invest in understand their ESG risks and returns. So this is number one. Sustainability is not reporting, it's financial disclosure. Actually, the regulatory landscape in Egypt has been very progressive and proactive, and Mr. Sharif Lukman is here representing the CBE and I believe the FRA, Mr. Rushdie. I think they have been very progressive to issue guidelines that mandated sustainability reporting. Still, what remains, how we get it together into financial disclosures. Number two, which is much more crucial, is the shift that took place within financial statements. The shift from a focus on profit making to a focus on value creation. It's no longer enough for a company or a bank to report profit. They will have to report profit plus environmental, social, and governance benefits. It's no longer assuring for investors to think that it is making profit, generating material or economic tangible profitability. No, it has to be this value creation. So moving from profitability to value creation, this is a game changer into accounting, because traditionally, over more than 100 years, modern accounting has not been made to account for environmental gains or losses. They were called externalities. Externalities. They are external. They are outside our systems, our policies, our accounting. But now, no, nature is sending us a clear message. We cannot sustain this approach to growth. And here I want to bring to the discussion a seminar report that was issued 50 years ago in 1972 by a group of MIT researchers led by Donella Meadows, titled The Limits of Growth. And the assumption was, if humanity continue with the same pattern of production and consumption, and given the population growth, jumping from 1 billion beginning of 20th century to 8 billion, and the technological advancement, we will reach zero growth in 100 years. Why? Because the Earth has a biocapacity. And simply, we cannot consume resources. We cannot go on consuming resources without having any sensitivity to the regeneration. So the growth formula is dysfunctional anymore. And I think they were optimistic because we almost reached zero growth, sluggish growth in 50 years. Not only that, the global economy is witnessing unconventional risks. It's no longer the asset bubble risk or the foreign exchange risk. It's the governance failure which caused the financial crisis in 2008. The COVID pandemic, which is the social dimension, a virus, a health issue, triggered the worst recession since the Second World War. And the coming crisis, the climate crisis, which Mark Carney called the tragedy of the horizon, I mean, it will dwarf these two crises. It's terrible. I mean, completely destabilizing to the global financial system. So we are witnessing a new form of non-conventional ESG risks. On the other hand, there are ESG returns. I mean, trillions of investment needs in clean energy and energy efficiency is available for banks and corporates too much. So it's risk and return. So it's no longer profit, it's value. The third and last shift or transformation is the shift from fragmented reporting, sustainability reporting, to integrated reporting, driven by the philosophy of the integrated philosophy, which was driven by the integrated reporting framework. So it's no longer like we're having GRI, the TCFD, and SASB. No. Why? Because there is a holistic approach whereby the majority of investors realize the interrelationship and interdependencies between economic capital, human capital, technological capital, biodiversity. This is all interrelated. So this kind of maturity. Right now, they issued the S1, which is sustainability disclosures. S2 is climate related, and it's a modular approach. I mean, we should expect there will be incremental. Biodiversity will be there. There will be like S3. There is also just transition, which is the impact of capital on people, which could be S4. So we need to be prepared. Right now, this is not only the case. We will keep on adding, but it's all under integrated reporting. So if we reflect this on the CIB experience, and I'm mindful of time, I think I would highlight two main features about our experience. The first was being preemptive and realizing the business case of sustainable finance as early as 2015. And this is the beautiful thing about it. I mean, sustainability cannot be implemented if it is driven by a regulator or by the IFRS. You will lose the sense. You will lose the deep understanding that it has its risk-return profile and risk-return rationale. The second is the fact that CIB embraced a systemic approach, very structured, towards integrating sustainability, starting with the philosophy. We embraced system thinking philosophy, and that's very new. The IFRS, they embraced integrated thinking. We embraced the system thinking that recognizes the interrelationship and interconnections between different disciplines and different stakeholders. Second, we introduced the sustainable finance policy. Third, the sustainable finance strategy, which is part of the corporate strategy. Fourth, the risk return. I mean, we broadened our risk framework to go beyond the traditional credit or marketing or operational risk to include the environmental and social risk. We established a robust environmental and social risk management system. We joined the TCFD for climate risk in 2020. Now we're issuing the first report. So we have this integrated, very well-established risk approach. Second, the returns. I mean, at the peak of COVID, we introduced the green bond. It was very successful, which shows that in times of crisis, never stop innovating. In times of crisis, I mean, these are times whereby the system is telling you, sending signals that the old ways are not working, but there are other ways that might work. The green bond for $100 million with IFC was very successful. We are launching sustainable finance products end of this month. We have a very integrated architecture of international frameworks. From the Net Zero Banking Alliance, we are co-founders, the Principles for Responsible Banking, the PRI, the TCFD, the Global Compact. And I would say the way we approached reporting. CIB started the GRI reporting in 2015. And in 2017, CIB introduced the carbon footprint reporting. However, in 2020, we evolved from carbon footprint to the ecological footprint because we are sensitive to our accountability, not only for carbon, for water and land as well. And this is where you start to see that you have to be conscious how much you take from the system, how much you take from the ecology to be able to produce profit. So moving from carbon footprint to ecological footprint, that was not mandatory. That's not even a common practice on a global level. But we had this proactive attitude. Second, we started the integrated reporting, which I hope will be out by May 2023, whereby we integrate 8 frameworks. The IFRS and the ISSB, I think they consolidate 4 frameworks, the GRI, the CDP, the TCFD, and SASB. We report on 8. These 4, plus the Global Compact, plus the NESBA, Net Zero Banking Alliance, plus the PRB, and the ecological footprint. So what I'm telling and what I'm saying, that we are going the extra mile, even ahead of the ISB. Once we integrate this reporting, these reports, we will see how we can integrate them into the financial statement. The last thing is our commitment to establish and build an ESG data digitization system. There is no way we can report if we don't have digitized ESG data platform. And this is something that, fortunately, we are about to start at CIB. So to wrap it up, we are going through a system transformation. Again, I thank you all, and I thank the AUC for allowing this kind of interaction, because we're going through a very fluid situation, and I think we have our own context, and we have our own challenges, and we have our own opportunities. And it's very important that we step in and make the change that suits us happen. And there is nothing better than an alliance between business and academia. I think this is an untapped still. I mean, no matter how much is done on part of the AUC Business School, this is still an untapped territory, and I think it can materialize into breakthrough achievements. Thank you again, and looking forward to join the discussion.
Wow, this is impressive timing. Thank you very much.
Impressive timing, first time.
Exactly.
That's a precedent. That's a
precedent. Of today.
That's a precedent. I'm starting to change.
Okay, Ms. Maisa, please. 15 times. 15 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, AUC. Thank you, Dr. Noah. Thank you, everyone, for inviting me to speak today. Actually, thank you, Dr. Dalia, very much for this very comprehensive and informative presentation. It's actually hard for me now to speak after listening about CIB's amazing journey. I don't have much to say after that. Actually, building on what Dr. Sharif said and what Dr. Dalia said, we can see that previously, most of the world's sustainable finance activities were concentrated in the advanced economies. However, for the last around 2 years, the emerging markets have witnessed a surge in its share of this total world's sustainable finance programs and initiatives. And this actually comes with this big, great opportunities, but also comes with its own challenges and regulatory changes that, as Dr. Dalia said, we need to get ready for. So the region is actually a bit far behind from the rest of the world. It's not only Egypt. And I think it's a good tactic that we learn from the good practices from all over the world and from the countries and the companies that are ahead of us. And so I would like to discuss some challenges, or good, let's not talk about the challenges, let's focus on the good practices that actually tackled some challenges that would help organizations not only comply with the sustainability reporting regulations, but also contribute to the enterprise value creation, the long-term enterprise value creation. So let's get into it. So I believe one of the key factors here when we're talking about sustainability reporting and sustainable finance is striking the right balance. What do we mean by striking the right balance is that if a company is trying to address, as Dr. Sharif was saying about AUC, if we're trying to address all the SDGs, it's impossible. Also, if a company is trying to address all its sustainability concerns, that would be impossible, unworkable, okay? So they need to understand what's material to them. So materiality and materiality assessment and mapping is definitely the key to success here. And nowadays, a lot of concepts or aspects are being added to the materiality concept. Maybe it has been for so long, but we need to focus more on like the dynamic materiality and the double materiality. So also as it was previously mentioned, that what we were considering it as a risk in the long run, it can be a risk after a few months or maybe tomorrow, like what happened with the COVID pandemic and the supply chain, the disruptions, and even the geopolitical disruption that's happening in the world. A lot of major shifts in the world happening now that we need to be attentive to and always be ready for it. So the good thing about ISSB now is that it actually was keen on developing sustainability standards or standards that act as a comprehensive global baseline of sustainability disclosures that mainly focus on the needs of the investors and the financial markets. However, the good thing about it, it's also working with the GRI, for example, that's the leading service provider of standards, or standards provider that are focusing on the broader stakeholders, so not only investors. So actually kind of tackling the inside out and outside in approaches of sustainability reporting. Like, for example, how as a company how am I impacting the environment and contributing to the climate change, and also how's the climate change impacting me as a company. And I think this is very critical for Egypt, as being a country that's very prone to risks, climate change, physical risks. So that's the first thing, striking the right balance when it comes to risk assessments. So the second point I would like to discuss now is that translating the sustainability strategy into the business operations, okay? And I was thinking, should I use this term or use the term sustainability-driven strategy? I believe sustainability-driven strategy could be an advanced step if we at least have like a sustainability. Now, definitely, I'm not talking about the CIB, okay? I'm talking in general for the companies and that are starting this now. If we can have at least sustainability strategy coupled with coupling the business strategy with the sustainability strategy, and at some point they will integrate together and making sure that they are embedded in the business operations and not only having parallel checks in the practices, in our practices, that would be very important. And I'm not sure if, I think I can have some time speaking about that. When I talk about the sustainability-driven strategies or any corporate strategy that deliver on growth and sustainability, I always like to mention PwC's strategy. I know the PwC might be a complete different story than many other companies, but I'm very obsessed, not because I'm a PwC employee, la wallahi khalis, but really I can see what happened with PwC in 2021. We launched a global strategy called the New Equation. It mainly states that the new equation is a future that's human-led and tech-powered, okay? For us, it means that people and technology should work hand in hand, combining the human ingenuity and the technological innovation in order to deliver better outcomes, better sustained outcomes, faster, more intelligent outcomes, and building trust across our value chain. This might sound like I'm memorizing the strategy and just saying it, but really, PwC definitely it was able to prepare for it maybe from 2019. But if you look at PwC now, digital upskilling, it's in the DNA of PwC, and not only digital upskilling, taking into consideration responsible technology. And before everything, being very on the top of things in order to be responsive and responsive to the major disruptions in the world, like climate change. So you would find everything that's happening from the operations and the practices of PwC really involving this strategy, from the new joiners up to the senior partners. The third point I would like to discuss also here is adapting stakeholder management and spreading sustainability knowledge in-house. So when we're talking about the first point, which is striking the right balance and the risk identification and assessments, definitely you cannot do this without the stakeholders' dialogue and engagement and very thorough communication and direct communication with our stakeholders in order to understand their needs and interests to cater for them. But here I'm also reflecting on sustainable finance stakeholder engagement, because as an investor, you would definitely, this adds actually a layer of complexity to the whole thing, that you need to communicate with more organizations or more companies in your portfolio, and engaging with them throughout the whole process within all phases, not only in the beginning, like in the due diligence phase, also due diligence, post-investment, reporting, check-ins, and always communicating with them. The more you collect data, analyze this data, the more you're better managing your risks in your portfolios. And in order to do that, the key point would be actually your people who are actually doing that, your investment managers, relationship managers, and so on. So you need to develop this knowledge in-house, even if it's the very basic knowledge, but it should be there. So the fourth point I would like to speak about also, and I also want to say that I'm just touching on few points that I would like to discuss further in the roundtable. So the fourth point is the collecting and analyzing data and specifically digitizing data management. It's key. Yani, I'm so glad that CIB is doing this now. I don't think, I believe you would see exponential growth starting doing this. And I know some companies might say, we're still in the very beginning, should I digitize now? But I believe that having a plan for that would help a lot and will accelerate the process. At PwC, we have a lot of digital tools that support this. And not only PwC, by the way, you can find online tools, maybe some for subscriptions, maybe some are open for demos and so on. But I believe digitizing the data management is essential, and definitely connecting it to a governance mechanism as well. It's very important. And I can speak a lot about data management and governance, because this was actually the first thing I've done at PwC, collecting and analyzing the data very early on, not only for PwC Egypt, for the Middle East as a whole. You can imagine the hassle I was getting into, and we developed the processes and the controls and so on. And I think it's very, very important to have data-driven sustainability. And the last point I would mention now is the importance of integrating sustainability and ESG into your risk management framework as a whole. So there should be like holistic integration of the sustainability within your already existing risk practices, within all functions across the whole organization. Yes, I'm glad that I somehow was sticking to the time. So this is mainly what I wanted to share for now. If you have any questions, we will discuss definitely during the roundtable. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And this is maybe the first roundtable that everybody's sticking to time, which is impressive. We're going to have 2-minute time slots, if you don't mind. We also welcome the observers to ask questions and respond if you want. Let me start with a couple of remarks that came from the two speakers that yes, they are successful. Yes, they are best practices. They have led a successful journey, but also the fact that our market is way behind. So let's come back to the Egyptian market, looking at the two successful stories that we've heard between PwC and CIB, and try and say, today we want to set a roadmap, we want a journey to successful sustainability in Egypt. If you want to plan a roadmap for the future, inclusive of all the minds that we have on the table between practitioners, regulators, consultants, accountants, auditors, investors, everybody's on the table. Who would like to start with setting us on the journey for successful implementation or building the roadmap? Okay, Mr. Sharif.
Hello, everybody. This is Sharif Zaini. I'm the Vice President and the Group CFO of Sweden Electric. Actually, this topic is very nice regarding sustainability. 3-4 years back, no one understood what's the meaning of the sustainability from the beginning. And we were suffering from the lots of requirements from outside, and we started to have these carbon footprints, the global climate, and so on. So we were actually from the first companies started to work in these issues. First thing, we started to this reporting in accordance to United Nations GC, and then we started to go to GRI standards with good feedback. So we started after that to go to TCFD for the climate and so on standards. So everything was, it's like a journey. It was very important, and we have 5 years of sustainability leading by example. So we, as a Sweden, first thing in 2019, we reported first carbon footprints for 6 subsidiaries, and it was huge. Actually, it's easy to talk. We are manufacturers, so I believe it's much difficult than, for example, CIB or any office or service, because it's easy to change to. But if you have sustainability for us, it means money, change mentality, to see where how can we replace some raw materials, for example, from non-green to green, or polluted materials to. Okay, finish. I have to finish. All right. So I finish. We'll come back. لا لا خلاص. يعني just now we have about 17 subsidiaries already with this. So this is how يعني we are talking about the future. About we are listed companies, so we have lots of regularities. Like they have to follow up with us. Last point, I have to say that we sold last year in 2021 about 20 billion green products. We have 1/3 of our revenue now. It's accepted by Europe. We help even because we use our network in Africa for the renewables and so on. So it's in Africa, so we help them to build renewable energy stations or power plants, solar, wind, and so on. So we are on the ground, we have the technology, we are the smart building, our products, and first irrigation system in Egypt. So we have lots of products or projects, and last point that we have succeeded with IFC to get 2 tranches of $300 million loan secured by our sustainability. Actually, it's a green loan. It was long trip or journey with them to get this approved. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me here in this very, very great forum. Sustainability is certainly the discussion of the days. The banking industry is one of the key players in this field. The frameworks being applied recently or for a number of years, GRI, the SAS standards, or even the TCFDs. The frameworks have been established. The standards were recently issued, yet drafts, yet people are trying to understand and capture. And actually, if you look very carefully on the standard, you'll find certain elements that are not yet complete. Even, I mean, if you click on them, you just find them not yet there. So they are still building. It's very challenging to build a framework of reporting as such. But however, these SAS maybe standards are the most comprehensive somehow and addressing the accounting challenge. I'm talking about accounting because I'm auditor, so it's a profession, and we are in the business school, so we have to talk accounting somehow. The wonder is if you consider the ISA 3410, this is an auditing standard on greenhouse gas reporting. You will wonder when this standard was issued. It's 2007. 2007. So the auditing standard was always there, always there. And my colleagues and friends usually thought that greenhouse gas statements is talking about greenhouse for agriculture. So it's not the whole universe. So I guess the problem is the education, training, the digital transformation. Certainly, both of the speakers addressed somehow. Legal framework is certainly something that we need to look at. Okay. Anyway, just one last word. The banking systems are usually aimed to provide sustainable and sustainability financing. The big challenge, I believe, is to get assurance on whether they achieved what they want, because it's not their business. It is the industries they lend to. So yes, the bank has some sustainability issues internally, but what about their customers they are financing? How to get assurance that they are providing the right things, the right customers? Are they complying actually? It's not a statement that I give you a statement. Thank you.
Hello. First, thank you, AUC. Thank you, everyone. Not only I'm a 1984 graduate, and I don't have much time, but I'm really very proud to be part of this very important topic. One, Qala Holdings, among many companies in Egypt, really do stand and set an example of how they've tried to be responsible investors from the start. But I want to take this out to question a few things. What we're talking about now is transition, and transitions that need to happen so fast. How could we enable such transitions, scaling up of green investments and transformations within companies to be done and achieve climate mitigation objectives, while at the same time avoid unintended effects on the macroeconomy, on the financial stability, and on the companies themselves, particularly in the context of what's happening here economically and in emerging markets. When you look at how you link all these changes, I mean, we're very proud to have been reporting on our sustainability practices. We've been looking at environmental aspects in particular. Part of it is DFIs, when you have green condition financing, or DFIs demanding that you integrate the E and the S and the G in everything you do. It becomes part of the DNA. But let's look at it from the context of what's expected of companies today and of the business community and the private sector. It's trying to change its operations to become more green and more responsible, and gather data, put benchmarks, work with very few resources in the market that are extremely expensive, so they don't really have the resources and the tools needed to have the databases, build the software required in-house to try to gather that across. In my case, I'm a holding company and I have subsidiaries, so to digitize it, find the talent that is actually qualified enough in the market to come in and support you in building these infrastructures, and how do you tie it all back to your cash flow and the enterprise value? Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Hannah.
Yes, thank you very much, and also thank you, AUC, for this excellent forum. It's very much needed. The sustainability is a very close topic to our hearts, and we have experts here on the panel. I'm sorry I was a bit late, so I missed Dalia, who is a real expert on this. Let me talk from the perspective of micro and small and medium enterprises, because actually this is my domain and this is my passion. In practice, it is applied, but as a structure and as a framework, sustainable finance is not yet into it. So why do we use sustainable finance when it comes to this very important sector? Because, for instance, with microfinance loans, the revolvement of the loans achieves sustainability for the clients, for our beneficiaries. In terms of small enterprises, small graduating to medium, and then medium graduating to larger industries, and interlinking there achieves the sustainability of the whole sustainable finance process. Why do we talk sustainable finance when it comes to this sector? It really helps in decision making of sustainable finance programs. It really helps in tracking progress of such programs. It helps in developing the cost-benefit analysis for the sustainable finance, be it for micro or for small or for medium. And it's a cost-cutting tool when it measures like energy savings, and we do apply ESG, but again, in practice, but not in framework or structure and so on and so forth. It also helps us in budgeting and costing and evaluating the impact of sustainable finance on the SMEs. I think I'm running out of time, but I reiterate that this is a very important issue and that interlinkages are required between ESG and sustainability. Thank you.
I'd like, if you don't mind, to focus more on something Dr. Dalia said, which is
Sure.
How are we able to change this to real belief into a process instead of becoming a regulator-driven, because we've had this history in Egypt in many, many cases. So what is the best way to get to the economy buying into, instead of CPE, FRA saying you have to? Please.
Thank you for you, and thanks for the AUC for such opportunity. It's very important what you said exactly. Sustainability shouldn't be driven by regulator. It should be, as Dalia mentioned, in the DNA of the organization. You asked about a roadmap. Roadmap, first, we should believe that sustainability is not an objective. It's a tool to achieve our objective, first. Secondly, we should build our capacity, not only to be in our strategy or no, our team or our employees should understand what is exactly required from sustainability, what is the transformation will lead for to success the roadmap or the journey that we will go on. I will very quickly tell about an experience happened during the last few months. We had a discussion with one of the development agencies about some funds for Egypt, and they were talking about a green taxonomy. I don't know you know the green taxonomy or the taxonomy or not. We, as a central bank, were seeing that the market not ready yet for a green taxonomy, and one of our main objective is not to destroy the economy. We need to achieve our objective without rocking the boat, step by step. Anyway, we traveled to see what has happened from the European Central Bank in the green taxonomy, because the green taxonomy, it was issued in Europe. We found, yes, there is a green taxonomy, but this is not the main motive to achieve sustainability. The main motive achieving sustainability is commitment towards the society and is the pressure from the investors. 2 minutes is ended. Investment and investors is very important. Clients is very important. This is the main motive, not taxonomy, not binding regulation, not regulator, is the commitment towards the society. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me to participate in this roundtable. I'm Dina Al-Bassioni, Assistant Professor of Accounting at the School of Business at AUC. And I would like to share some insights related to some academic works that have been published related to sustainability, accounting, and reporting. And so I believe this will give us all like a bird's eye view of that topic, and we can see where we stand, and based on that, how to move forward. So of course, I believe you are all aware that CSR in Egypt is still at a nascent stage and is therefore considered as a new corporate practice that is still not institutionalized. Based on a survey that was conducted in one of my studies, but on public listed Egyptian companies, around 74% of the companies do not agree with the idea that the social responsibility of a firm is essential to its long-term profitability. And this provides an insight as to how CSR is currently viewed and practiced in Egypt. However, believe it or not, there is a research paper that shows that Egypt is among the leading countries in the region in disclosing CSR information. Yet again, compared to developed countries, again based on a comparative research study that I conducted, the level of CSR disclosures in Egypt as a developing country was significantly low. And however, I still see increased disclosures by companies currently, and this might indicate higher awareness of companies. However, how fast we're moving compared to other countries in the region is the question or concern. Another question lies in the quality of the disclosed information. The information was mostly positive, which means that only good news were disclosed, and narrative in nature, qualitative. And some instances also, it's completely irrelevant to the risks and opportunities that arise from the core operation of the business.
It seems
so
we're
I
now
can-
scared of having the buzzer, so we've stopped having buzzers. But please note.
Yeah,
the
I can
time.
see that. I can stop here and then.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
The reason I've stopped you is that it's very interesting now that we have a very interesting statement. From one side, Mr. Sharif, out of experience, is saying that we have to have a buy-in. We have people to get to understand, believe, and actually implement. On the other side, research is telling us that our most prominent companies on the stock exchange are not a believer. So how do you get people to believe in this? I think would be a very interesting question to try and set. Mr. Ihab.
Dr. Khalid, thank you so much. Thank you so much for bringing me on this table. I will be I think I will be the only one who will consume less than 1 minute. Since we are in the AUC Business School, and many of my employees in the company in Decarbon Egypt are graduates of the AUC, let me bring you a statement of one of them. Ihab, in the AUC Business School, they taught us profit and shareholder value. Nobody spoke about people or planet. So I think we can take it forward from here, since we are...
We only graduate 1,000 people, Fayani. It's not our fault. But definitely, as Dean Sharif said at the beginning, education framework has to change.
Definitely.
We are now talking about people, planet, and profit. We are talking about environment, economic, and equity. But we're still at this starting points, definitely, of doing that. But again, leaving AUC aside,
Okay.
how can we
Started with
make the
Milton.
economy
Milton.
buy into this? Yeah, I mean, how can we make the economy buy into the idea that this is the best thing for Egypt? Many people are saying, why should we pay all of this money? We didn't create the environmental problem. It's the developed countries, for example. How do we get to this next step? How do we challenge these opinions and get into making them believe? Is it education? Is it regulation? Is it funding for more and more like these roundtables? Where should we go?
Allow me to complete here, Dr. Khalid. I do agree with you. Yeah, but you took more than a minute. In this respect, again, why I'm mentioning this? Because the business case is either there or not there. And it's only calibers with multidisciplinary backgrounds that are coming out of the AUC who will show us whether it's there or not there. We will not create business cases. Either there are business cases that are clear and that they are able of being grasped in terms of opportunities, or there is no. And that's why I'm saying, as a person who is practicing this on ground day and night. Okay.
بعد كده هيكهربوا الكرسي. This is very scary.
لا, not at all, بس يعني we are witnessing here بس just two regulations that are putting huge pressures on the market in terms of capacity needs. We have the regulations coming from the Central Bank of Egypt in terms of the need to establish a sustainability department with calibers that are needed. 37 banks need caliber today. And we have decisions by FRA 107 and 108 for the year 2021 that is requiring only from listed companies, 240 companies approximately, work on the issue. Currently, the market has very few calibers that is working on ground, and I think
Thank you.
may agree with me. Thank you so much, Doctor.
I want to thank you very much for raising this point. And I listened very carefully to, you can see, even I took 4 pages of notes, to what you said. And I stopped on, I think, 2 key points that were said. Talent, and then you confirmed it, and the DNA should be driven by the people, not by a regulator. And I promise you, over the last 5 years, I've been in conversations like this with my fellow deans around the world, in Europe, in Asia, in North America. They're facing the same problem. But to Dr. Dina's point, we're lagging behind. Why? Because everybody is jumping into the opportunity to include the words of climate and sustainability and. Even in the top schools around the world. Yet, the content is not there, and the faculty who would teach that content, they want to be part of this, but they don't know what to teach and how to teach it. So I would say we are on the same boat, but surely, no secret, they're ahead of us. And it depends which school you're talking about and where they are. And that's precisely why we're having this kind of forum, because I think one of the problems, and one of the key problems, is the human capital, and how the structure of the mentality of running the show and moving solely from shareholders' interests, which is still legit, to the societal impact and the value creation to the community. So putting together that in our world as a business school could be manifesting in what is being taught in the classroom, the research that both the faculty and the projects that the students are engaged with, what we teach the community beyond their university days in executive education, but also what we do, which is a lot, by the way. It's the biggest chunk of our activities when it comes to community development, outside the degrees and outside executive education. So that's why I repeat myself from my opening remark. This is an informing session to us on how to channel that. But still, I still think we are flying at 40,000 feet. To translate that into specific programs and projects, we need sort of to go down a bit to the details that can help us and help the chairs and the professors who are around the table here and sitting on the back to shape up the programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed.
Yes, I would like to build on what Dean Kamel was saying, and actually I agree with Mr. Ihab that this is true. It has to be. We do offer some courses, but I believe that the solution in education is not about offering a course, but it's embedding this in all the courses. So it's the same as entrepreneurship. It's nice to say, well, we'll offer a course on sustainability and a few students take it. But it's about building the mentality. And I believe this can only happen with collaboration with the industry, with the experts up there. So from one side, whenever I talked to people, experts in the area, always say that there is a missing talent. So the skills themselves need to be captured from the market and then delivered. So the concepts are there, but co-teaching and offering courses through market leaders is critical. Writing case studies and delivering them, and we have a case center at AUC, is critical. So this is the way it's going to be done. But the more important, our role is to make sure that it's not a course, It is a mentality building. It's the DNA, and that's the 2 cents I have there. Thank you.
Okay. Now that we have followed down to talent, talent is very expensive. How do you build talent? Where do you get the funding to build this type of talent that is different from the regular talent that we've been producing? So any ideas about that? Dr. Sharif, he's the boss.
Got it. And I just want to comment on something that Professor Tolba just mentioned when he mentioned the case studies. Case studies are extremely important, and they very much help in building the advocacy across the community. And it's an engagement between our institutions and the movers and shakers. So already from the past, 58 minutes, I learned that CIB and El Suidi and maybe Decarbon Egypt have content that could be translated into a case study. And as you said, we have that platform. And I think as we move forward, going back to my previous comment, that it's not just about the degrees, but it's capacity development. People learn a lot more sometimes from the case studies, which, by the way, for scalability, earlier this academic year, back in September, we introduced even the case studies in Arabic, which is something we don't often do at AUC, because everything is in English. So we're even offering the case studies in Arabic to scale it up among the a number of universities in Egypt. So this is an invitation to El Suidi, yourself, obviously CIB, to come up with the content where our team can develop case studies. Thank you.
Dr. Dina.
Thank you, Dr. Khaled. I want to go back to that point before we actually move to the financing point that Dr. Khaled was mentioning. And I think this calls for what we call education for sustainability. And I think we were engaged in a panel discussion during COP27 on this broad umbrella of education for sustainability. So adding to the case studies, I think we also need to bring in the dimension of community and civic engagement among our students and getting to understand things beyond the classroom. So it goes beyond what we teach inside the classes. It goes beyond what we teach the students from the books and actually having to experience things themselves. And this is where we call for producing the responsible citizens or the responsible leaders who are empowered with the education that can make them take these informed decisions. And when we say informed decisions, this should take into consideration environmental integrity, economic viability, and just society. So we're bringing in so many dimensions into the discussion, which again brings us back to what is education for sustainability and how we can integrate this within our curricula to produce those responsible citizens to the community. Thank you.
Dr. Dina?
Want to add to what Dr. Dina was just saying, that the students are our future managers, investors, customers, and also one of the main factors that affect the implementation of sustainability in companies, again based on research, is managerial awareness and knowledge of the topic. And based also again on a survey, the majority of the managers, around 6-7%, in listed companies in Egypt considered the lack of top management commitment as the main barrier for adopting sustainability in companies. So I believe that cultivating, the organizational culture, improving awareness, building the sustainability mindset is key if we want proper implementation of sustainability. I believe this is step one. Also, we need to consider a very important factor, which is the cultural factor that is in Egypt, because some companies in Egypt had implicit sustainability practices that they did not disclose in their reports because they thought that CSR disclosure practice is not a good thing. It's used mainly for publicity reasons. So we need also, when we speak with companies, we need to understand those cultural factors and how we can address sustainability, that it can be a good thing, not a bad thing. Yeah?
Can I make a point?
Thank you.
I have a very strong feeling about the using CSR and how clearly there's been transitions. And this is part of the whole thing, definitions, terminology that we use. Companies used to do a lot of charity work. They went into starting to do CSR programs. They never looked at impact. They never monitored the impact. It was things they do, very quick wins. And as you said, they were not done for anyone. They were voluntary and fragmented, most importantly. Then you shifted to an understanding of, no, now there is an understanding of E, S, and G, and how you make sure this is integrated in how we do business. And then the reporting, which, by the way, we started voluntary reporting 2015. No one asked us to do it. It's about the company practices, which have been, again, fragmented practices of sustainability. I think working on definitions is critical. Sustainability today is the one of the 7 key top challenges confronted by the private sector and the global business community. And it's comprehensive. It includes in it the environmental and the social and the governance, but most importantly, economic. So how do we make sure that there's consistency there? Thank you.
I'm sorry, again, one statement, but I think there is a very important new outcome that we can add here and refine a little bit. We, building on Mr. Sharif Luqman's statement, with a little tweak, we don't need to embed sustainability into DNA. We need to refine our understanding to sustainability from the cultural dimension and reintroduce it to the society in its new format, because it is there. I read the paper, one of your papers, in fact, by one of your students, and قريت فيها الconcept of لا يجب أن ترى يميني ما تعطيه يساري. This is how corporates see corporate sustainability as one of the papers from the AUC. I think with this refinement, with the DNA concepts, I think we can re-explore what does sustainability means in our culture.
Ms. Hannah?
Thank you very much. It's further to what Ghada had just mentioned on CSR and the fragmentation. I just want to commend the Central Bank of Egypt for having a CSR department that would integrate all CSR activities so that they complement each other and not, being fragmented. The second point is further to Dr. Dina Abdel Fattah. I really like the responsible citizenship terminology, and I call on AUC to include the civil society to share their best practices, their problems, their best practices, and so on and so forth, to the students, so they become part and parcel of this important function. Thank you.
Mr. Sharif?
Thank you. I'm very happy that we are living in the reality. For the first time, I'm in a panel or in a discussion. We are saying the reality. I want first to differentiate what is Ihab mentioned regarding the education or the programs, because I said clearly in my talks, building capacity is very important. But let's differentiate between the general literacy for sustainability, which I'm preferring to be in the normal program for all students, to be very generic, and a dedicated programs after graduate for bankers, for companies, regarding sustainability. But we should be very careful, because I saw a lot of programs talking sustainability. You are targeting which segments, which industry? You are targeting the factories, companies, bankers. I think we have to split and to have a dedicated program for different, and including in this program one generic. But the bankers should understand sustainable finance, objectives, goals, how to lead the company or the customer, or to take the customer to achieve his objective. He should see the other part, but on a very small parties, but should to understand his responsibilities. Unfortunately, I went through a lot of programs here in Egypt and even outside of Egypt. They're talking about sustainability on very general. I'm preferring to have a specified programs. Secondly, we have to understand that sustainability is a very big umbrella. CSR, SMEs, transformation, carbon emissions, everything. It's a huge umbrella. Previously, we were suffering a little bit or struggling with some banks that they understood that CSR is sustainability. Okay, or sustainability is only CSR. CSR is a part from as a sustainability.
Actually, thank you very much for what you're mentioning. This is exactly how IFRS has noticed, and this is maybe the first standard that we have that has specialized concepts for different industries. General accounting standards have never been directed towards industries. This is the first IFRS standard that we see that has been directed towards specific industries because it is very specialized. So again, your concept about general education for the public versus more detailed education is well noted. Mr. Muhammad?
Yeah. I mentioned, among other things, the training and education. I intentionally said two words here, it's not one, because the society is split into two main components. The educated and workforce people who needs training because they might not be aware enough of what do we mean by sustainability and climate change and all of that. And then the education. The education is not starting at universities. Education is starting at the very early stages and can actually be starting at primary schools. The ethics and culture and behaviors of people get obtained at that level, at that age, very early in age. So we cannot start just by looking at the workforce and people at universities and we say we made enough. It's actually a nationwide program. It has to start from the beginning to address what we want to address. This is the talent matter. The reporting is important. As you said, addressing the different industries was very needed, actually. When we look at S2 and the appendices to them, looking at every single industry, they are not complete, as I said earlier, but they help people to understand what each industry should focus on, because we are different. I mean, the challenges I face in the agriculture is different from manufacturing and so on. So everybody has to have different perspective. And yeah, I concur with what you said.
Yeah. Let me say that actually you've raised something that is of a bigger concern to me than I thought coming in, which is we have to have ethics first. Responsible citizen, identity, loving the country, paying attention of the resources. These are things that are way beyond the standards. They start way before, as Mr. Motaz is saying, start as students coming to school, maybe even at the earlier stages in the housing as they're being sent to nurseries and schools. I have a question from Mr. Noha, who I have to give he's been the mastermind behind all of this. His question says, how do practitioners measure their readiness for sustainability implementation? So we're moving ahead now. We've set the ground. Let's try and implement. How do you know that we're ready from those who started? Or do you ever
investors?
know?
Is the question about investors? I mean, how do you measure investors' readiness?
No. We're saying we have a
general?
company that wants to implement. How do we know that we're ready to implement? What do we need if we know? Have you knew at a certain point? Do you have something, or is there a bell that something just appeared?
No, I understand it from the other point, that how we encourage the people to understand what's the sustainability first, as everybody said. Some people, they don't understand what's the sustainability and CSR and all these things. Number two, how to help them financially. I believe margin and profit is very, very important point. So I don't think that any manufacturer will go for sustainability while he's going to make losses. No way. So, and this standard is supposed to be generalized to everybody. So if you will take a green product or something, you shouldn't accept the others who are doing. So there are some limitations supposed to be in the market. Some associations or whatever from outside and inside Egypt to help the people to finance and make funds for this to help them. Otherwise, and especially in the manufacturing, again, it's very difficult to push these people with their financial conditions to help all these criteria.
I mean, can I just add to that? I mean, obviously there's the market demand piece. I mean, typically you move because there's market demand. We're here talking about a moral issue, but also there is, if you don't have market demand, if there is no revenue at the end of the day, businesses are there to create jobs and have a return to their stakeholders, in this case, not just shareholders. I'll tell you, I mean, the reason, I mean, Qala from the start positioned itself as adding value to the economies and societies that you are in sustainably and responsibly. But what did that mean? We took energy, and it was the key focus of the company, and has been about more efficient and more accessible energy solutions. Is there market demand for that? It took us, we lost so much money until the market in Egypt was ready and there was no subsidies, so that we can transition to river transportation, to solid waste management. A lot of the businesses we started that struggled and suffered for a while until there was the demand, or there's at least a return that you can then, and the regulatory framework, we cannot undermine that. Waste management business, until there was a law and the executive regulations, I mean, you could sit here, we were losing money. I mean, we were totally, how could you justify that? So I think the demand is critical. The product mix, you're gonna have to work on the efficiencies, number one, you're achieving if you're moving to lower carbon solutions or ingredients or products, looking across your value chain, not just within what you do, which is what we've been doing in some of our sectors, not all of them. And then the other aspect is now the country is very ready, right? So we're all moving to private, solar solutions, greener solutions. So you try to be ahead and be innovative and try to come up with what can help the transition. So I think it's really hard. You have to lead the market and lead by example, but at the same, and work on your internals, because that's a big part of it too.
But again, I heard from so many of you, and again, back to Mr. Zihab's comment about the business formula or business model for that. And I remember corporate governance, when it first came to Egypt, stayed for a long time dormant until McKinsey wrote a paper saying there is value in corporate governance. And I remember that Egypt results, if I remember vaguely, were like well-governed companies are 1/3 better valued by the stock market. And that started everybody running to there. But the problem here is we're talking again with a moral issue. Maybe sometimes it's very hard. And as the IFRS themselves put it, they say that if you want to build human capital, you're going to take away from finance capital. How do you make that balance? Yes. How do we convince, again, I'm trying to push us to where do we convince everybody in the company, from investors to employees, that this is to the best interest of them?
I mean, I can tell you, before we were demanded to report, we were looking at efficiencies you can achieve by reducing your consumption of oil utilities. The regulator created an environment with no more subsidies. So for businesses, it made sense. It has to make sense financially. And as Dr. Dalia was saying before, there is a business case. You actually can look at the return, and it's there. Go ahead.
I think I need to make a slight, I wouldn't say correction. CSR is not sustainability. And there was this metaphor that I never forget from a lady in one of the conferences. She said, CSR is a cherry on top of the cake. You know? Cake is how you do the business, how you generate revenue. You can be in the drug business and donate for an orphanage or for a hospital, build a school. And this is widespread. This is CSR. It's on top of the business. It has nothing to do with how you do your business. Sustainability is in the recipe. How you generate each pound, how you make sure that each pound dollar generator has an environmental, social, and governance impact. And unless we draw this sharp line, CSR is good, but it's not sustainability, right? It's how you do your business, how me as a bank.
But again, how do you convince? How were you as CIB convinced that doing this is best for you?
And it's not about moral or ethics. Let's be sharp about this. CIB, I mean, prior to me joining CIB eyed global investors. And they knew, and I remember a statement, I mean, my first meeting with the chairman at that time, Mr. Rais Al Arab, he told me, our global investors do not care as much about our profitability as much as they care about our ESG, and we want it. So it is the business case. And if we meddle with this, it's very dangerous if we take it towards the ethical or moral, because it's not. It should be very sharp. It's about the capacity to continue to generate value through the intrinsic business. It's not an add-on. CSR is very good, but it's another thing. It's totally another thing.
I totally agree, and I want to make sure we don't fall in that trap.
Can I answer?
Khalid, if you allow me, I need you to repeat the question on a different way, okay? Because I think the objective of Dr. Noor is a little bit different. I'm personally not understanding what is the objective of that question.
Can I?
Yes, please.
In the US, in other countries, in the EU, when companies get engaged in mergers and acquisitions, one of the topics that they need to go through is the so-called ESG due diligence. Companies need to demonstrate that they are generating revenues based on the higher goals of sustainability. If they are not doing it, they are not perceived to create value. And at the same time, companies need to demonstrate that they are ready to go towards sustainability if there is a need or there is an emergent need to move to that direction. So from that perspective, I'm wondering how practitioners, how consultants help organizations to assess the readiness for sustainability, because many organizations are not actually there, as you said. And my question was related to how do we measure we are ready to go to that direction? That's actually the core.
If you allowed me, Dr. Khalid, to bring you allow me to bring you a very quick question to this question. My PhD is in economics of sustainability from the Free University of Berlin. And when I came to Egypt, I put all the reasons why should a company engage into a maturity practice, and I find neither of what I have studied implementable in Egypt. Let me give you the 6 major reasons why companies are engaged into sustainability in the national context. Number 1 is leadership, visionary leadership, and this is the case of CIB. And I think Mr. Hisham Al-Arab struck a very good example between what is the difference between a dreamer and a visionary, and this is something to be taught. This is number 1, the number 1 objective. And you can find it across Al-Qala practices, you can find it across Swedi practices, and among others. Second, and most important, peer pressure. Imagine it or not. Okay, so the first slide I put into my business cases in order to sell my services is who did it before. So once he saw if in his sector somebody has did it before, so the business case is there. Third, risk, ESG risks, which is now and opportunities, by the way, ESG risks and opportunities. Fourth, regulations, and the regulator, when the regulator came on with the regulations. But there is something very peculiar about the why. The why guides the how, because for every why, you will need to structure your approach to the company with a very different methodology. If it's the investor, we can go to ESG investment matrices. If it's the finance, we can go to the IFC and the EBRD standards and frameworks. If it's leadership, it's the GRI, the Global Reporting Initiative Comprehensive Framework. If it's a regulator, then we come to the regulator. You'll find across all of those different personalities, different motivations, and also different approaches to address sustainability from their perspective. Dr. Daria wanted to add on MISA.
No, I wanted better to get after
Dr.
Belhamid.
I can answer the question, but from our experience in working with companies, very rarely, maybe it's impossible to convince. So first question, to convince someone to integrate sustainability in their business. Nearly impossible if there is no other motive. And I will echo what has been said. So what I met, the motives, different motives, either cost reduction, and it is being done by business as usual, but not under the title of sustainability. So when we come, we just connect the dots. So what you're doing, guys, is sustainability, actually. So this is one. Number 2, which has been a challenge for us, even in businesses led by AUC graduates, okay, who understands very well sustainability. Market demand. We talked with many companies, leading real estate, okay, and I convinced them, we offered, I think maybe someone on the table will link. We offered to show case studies that you can actually achieve 30 to 40% energy reduction if you integrate it in your design, okay? And I have a German friend actually yesterday calling me. He was astonished that in Egypt, we build without an energy code. And there is an energy efficiency code, but it's not being followed. So he's very astonished that people will revisit energy efficiency after we already finished the building. And this applies to many sectors. So cost reduction, market demand. If there is no one who is willing to buy a unit which is green, no real estate developer will put extra money to design it green, especially that he's not paying the bills, okay? So it's market demand, and this, I think, I'll echo what Sharif said about we need to differentiate between education. When a company is ready to do sustainability, what we can help them, I think this is graduate education and caliber. But when a company is Egypt in general, I think this needs public awareness and general education comes in place. So, and motivation, which 100% is there, is about pressure from companies who export products, and they have clauses in the contracts that you have to do 1, 2, 3. This comes, so this is very clear. So actually, you can definitely assess readiness for sustainability, but I don't think this is a challenge because no one is ready for sustainability, actually. So I think it's gradual. It takes years to embed, but the motivation, I think, is, yeah. Thank you.
Compliance is one big factor, and I think if we look now at taxonomy, and if you're an exporter, you have no choice. I mean, in our case, again, some companies have been early on, they see it because they deal with international markets or investors. But there is no question that any Egyptian company that needs to export in 2 years to Europe, if it does not comply with the new taxonomy, with the new regulations and specifications and reporting, it's not going to play, it's not going to be in the game.
So in your mind, what you're mentioning is either we're going to comply or die. And that's a very different.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's a very big pressure, different than the idea of having pressure or believing in the idea or the business model.
See, I think the demand is there. I mean, again,
no, you're mentioning is a bigger and a harder, actually, business, which I like a lot. It's either you comply or you die, basically. And I don't know if I made it up, but this is really where we are, yeah.
It's a good summary. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I'm totally agree regarding comply or die, but on a different approach, okay? I'm personally, if we are talking about regulator compliance, I don't like this approach. I like the approach of win-win. When I said investors, the international experience which I saw by myself and you mentioned in the States, why I said investor is the main heat. Because if the organization didn't meet the investors' requirements or expectation, they will fall down on terms of shares, on terms of pricing, on terms of everything. For continuity, it will not be there, which will die, okay? And how you can translate this for your people? That continuity is related to that transformation and related to the sustainability approach. And continuity that you will continue in such organization and you will get reward when the value of the organization will increase with such action will taken on sustainability side, which will raise the value of the organization and the investors' demand. Yes, it's comply or die, but on a business approach, let's focus on the value of the organization. When I sat with some of the commercial banks abroad, they said clearly, we don't look for the taxonomy. We are looking for the investors' requirement. If we didn't abide for the sustainability transformation, the investor will go out, will skip.
Dr. Khaled, allow me please 1 minute. I need to recap 6 reasons why sustainable finance has a business case for CIB, and I'm sure they resonate to each and every corporate on this table. First, investors. Second, creditors. The IFC, the GIZ, the EBRD will not lend you unless you have an ESRM. Third, better risk management. We need to protect our portfolio. Fourth, revenue generation. As I mentioned, sustainable finance products are very profitable. Fourth, reputation. Fifth, carbon footprint and saving, as Dr. Abdelhamid said, or our green building save energy and water by 25 to 40%. So all these factors stand for the business case. Comply is good, but I mean, there are plenty of reasons why a company would willingly and lovingly embrace sustainability. So let's stick to this.
Sorry, I need also to say about the readiness of the customers and the market. Not only us as a readiness. If they will accept, in Europe, for example, we are exporting, we are the biggest exporters in Egypt, okay? We export to England with certain criteria, okay? But when it comes to export to Africa, they will never, you make the very minimal requirements just to sell to them. So the readiness of the markets, and again, we have to give some financial incentives to these countries to help them and to these communities and manufacturers to help to be able to fulfill the requirements. Otherwise, it will be just sessions.
Let me remind the observers that you can join with us. We'd love to hear your opinions about where we're going with this. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And definitely we can agree on one thing, is what's good is good for all. I learned this in the philosophy course in this school, and that's what's right. So if we talk about shortcomings, it's true, there are shortcomings, but there are also short terms. But if you look long-term growth, it's good for everyone. If you look even from the business point of view, when you talk about sustainability, you're thinking about your sustaining your long-term growth for sure, right? You're also talking about reducing costs. You're talking about minimizing. Of course, we can understand regulations. You want minimum regulation intervention, and we can surely agree with that. Definitely, you're thinking about improving your employees' productivity. You're talking about optimizing investment. So when you're talking about finance, surely it's coming from the investor who's definitely looking for green projects, for sustainable growth, for global impact that is good for all. Thank you.
Mr. Ahmed.
Thank you. I'd like first to echo all the fruitful insights from the roundtable. And the key success to ESG disclosures is the integrating of the ESG sustainability practices into the daily operation and the DNA, as mentioned by Dr. Dalia. And to do so, actually, we believe that there is a crucial role for regulators to step in and to encourage companies and all entities under supervision of, let's say, the non-banking financial services sector. We believe that we have main 5 strategic objectives in the sustainability landscape. The capacity building and ESG disclosures is one of them. The first one is creating an enabling environment for the transition into a low carbon economy, which we have in this regard 3 main milestones. The first one actually is the sustainability awareness and sustainability education, in addition to regulating the disclosure. We have a mandatory disclosure, the 107 and 108 decrees, which by all listed companies and non-banking financial services with issued capital more than 100 million EGB is required to disclose an ESG, and companies with more than 500 issued capital shall disclose in the TCFD. But to do so, actually, we believe that we need to build the capacity for all companies under non-banking financial services. The second milestone for the sustainability landscape is creating a sustainable finance framework for the non-banking financial services. We believe that the sustainable finance framework for banking services is there, but having a sustainable finance framework for non-banking financial services will be one of our mandates. We need the taxonomy. I know it's difficult to have, it's very difficult to have a green taxonomy, but we need a domestic taxonomy for green products and green finance tools and products. We need new policies, we need new products. This will take us to the third milestone, which is introducing new markets and new sustainability and sustainable finance product. We are currently working on introducing the voluntary carbon market, which is one of the innovative sustainable finance tools, in addition to introducing the green bonds and sustainability linked bonds, women empowering bonds, transition bonds, and climate bonds too. Also, we will be working in introducing the ESG funds, and here comes the importance of sustainability to investors and to asset management to include a specific, let's say, threshold of investment into their funds dedicated for sustainability. The second strategic objective actually is creating an enabling environment through capacity building. Capacity building will be through certified training. This is for the intermediate and advanced level, as mentioned by Mr. Sharif. We need to have a general sustainability knowledge and awareness session, and after that we have an intermediate and advanced training sessions for sustainability for all stakeholders, not only the companies, investors we believe they need. Okay, we can engage them in the ESG investing certificates with the CFA Society and other certified society. We believe that we need to concentrate on the opportunities. We also let's say we mention ESG risks and opportunities, and people when they hear actually risks, they will get abroad and will be excluded from this sustainability because of the risk. But we need to let's say optimize opportunities and mention they have a lot of opportunities in the sustainable finance framework.
Thank you. You reminded us of one item that Ms. Hana brought up and we completely ignored during our discussion, which is the size factor. The players on this table who have talked about their success stories are large, very large corporations, and they play in a very different playground than other companies. So is there a size factor, do you believe? Is there a size at where this is going to be compulsory, a size where it's going to be voluntary, a size that it is preventive? Is there such a thing, and yes or no, and why? Doctor.
Yes, briefly I want to mention that we are issuing a Sustaining SMEs program. And again, sustainability fits all sizes. It's a philosophy, it's a logic, it's a rationale. It's again the business case. Whether it's microfinance, SMEs, or large corporates, it works. Thank you.
Yes.
How can we have access to this, Dr. Dalia?
Yes, sure. One-on-one.
Okay.
According to the size, we have FRA have identified companies more than 500 million Egyptian pounds with some regulations, including the TCFD, and companies below the 500 million with other regulations. This is number one. Number two, which is very important also, is that the ISSB board has identified that SMEs and emerging markets will need to develop special capacity building programs. And currently there are negotiations with them in order to host 3 of these programs in Egypt. But unfortunately, until now, there is no local OPCOS for ISSB in the region, and I think this could be another good opportunity for the AUC to apply for playing this role.
Sir Mu'taz.
Certainly size matter, and if there is no dedicated type of finance, there will be very much difficulty to deploy. I just want to bring one aspect of reporting styles, because reporting is very important, as we eventually see. Reporting of the impact on climate can be at a very top level. You can say, this is what I consume of water or energy, and then you can say also, this is the water per revenue, this is the water consumption per revenue, or by product. Recently, we've seen some reports on the textile industry. We see how a fabric, one piece of fabric, t-shirt, can cost of water and color chemicals to produce. It's very expensive, very, very expensive to the environment, not to people to purchase at the end. But it really costs a lot. So these type of businesses need to report. We need to understand, and then we can evaluate, because I am, as a consumer at the end, I would consider whether I want to really buy these type of things, or how many I want to buy of them, how many I really need at the end. So I think behavior will change accordingly. And I have one example I remember at a very micro level. I was in a meeting, and before I go, somebody asked me to grab my bottle with me, my bottle of water, because I already opened it. Nobody will take this water anymore. So I guess everybody on the table has opened one, and probably many of us will leave it on the table before we go. I'm not saying that to take it with you. I will encourage you to, but I'm just telling you that these small things also help, because the water consumption at this company was measured at that level, not only at the production level.
I remember at some point of time in Egypt, المياه كانت من غير فلوس.
Yep.
And we really believed so.
Yeah. Again, I want to echo that size doesn't matter. In fact, as a matter of fact, sustainability applies to all, and we all need to start to think about it as a way of living, as citizens, as mothers, as parents, as everything. I think we all, it's the entire society. But when it comes to corporations, the small-sized ones and startups, I actually see it's very interesting, because as much challenge they have in trying to change their operations, they don't have the funding, or if we suffer from capacity building, if we suffer from lack of talent, they have that. But they also are extremely agile. They also are part of the solution. They are coming up with new business models that, in fact, putting pressure on the larger corporations to cope and compete, impact investing, social enterprises that are starting to get everyone to rethink. So I really believe they are a very critical part of this equation, and they can be a big part of coming up with the solutions for the value chain and the transitions that we all together. We do need to just create the forums for that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Gina.
I just want to add also that we need to differentiate between, besides size, the companies that have international exposure, let's say, or deal with the international market, as opposed to other companies that do not in the local market. And this leads to the drivers of sustainability reporting. And this applies also to Western countries as opposed to regional countries. So the drivers of sustainability reporting is actually different. For example, in the West, it's externally driven. There is high awareness. There are watchdogs everywhere. So the pressure is coming from outside, as opposed to our local market. The pressure is, or the change, or the driver comes from within. And this actually leads to that. One of the results is that corporate governance is viewed as one of the, or a critical pillar for effective CSR implementation. So beside, of course, managerial awareness and knowledge. So what I want to say is that we need to understand the needs of our market, the drivers of sustainability reporting to proceed. And I quote from the managing director of the World Bank, Mary Pangusto. She says that it's important that we look at their, referring to emerging economies, needs, at their needs, and support them in implementing the new standards, or there is a risk they will be excluded. So I think this is really a crucial and an important point to mention. Thank you.
Yeah, that ties back to Mr. Sharif's point about the market, the customers, and who are you. The pressures that are on you as a company will differ in terms of, do you have to have an external pressure, or are you have to have an internal inside type of pressure to buy into this new standard? Yes, Mr. Hamid.
I would like to add 2 points about sustainability reporting is one level of disclosure, and there's a higher level of disclosure, which is rating platforms, which we talked about, which you can be assessed and you have a score and investors can assess you. This is on international level very clear, but on a national level, and when we talk about the size, the drivers for large companies is there due to pressure, international pressure or regulations. Smaller size, until now, I think the only driver is that they represent the supply chain for large companies. So it has to come from large companies or maybe banking sector as well. And here there is the lack of incentive. We talked about taxonomy, but I think it's time to introduce some sort of an incentive as well, which is related or associated, comes in hand with evaluation. So if we can assess companies' performance well, we can give them incentives, maybe reduction in taxes. Maybe, I think 0.5% will make a difference.
Can I?
I think you mentioned something that is very important for us as accountants and finance people that we always tend to forget, which is the financial and fiscal tools that the country have, and none of us have discussed them actually. Taxes, exchange rate, interest rate, all of these are in the hands of
it's in the law. It's by law. It's in the SMEs law.
And it's in the investment law.
Yeah.
They have made amendments in the investment law, by the way.
There is an incentive for SMEs actually.
And
is it
companies?
It is implementable, yes.
And
it's a flat fee.
Yeah. IRADA, which is the Egyptian reform and regulatory activities, they have in fact been pushing and have approval on the new laws that have come up, amendments for the investment law to encourage companies. I mean, there are certain incentives that are there. The question is how many people are aware of them, how many companies are aware or implementing. I just want to go back to reporting. To me, is a starting point. I mean, we're all sitting here discussing reporting. For a business, this is a way to start to manage my resources, my finances, in a way that can increase my revenue or reduce my cost, right? So I think we need to also keep in perspective what are we doing with the reporting. And in fact, that as we're trying to bring in, I mean, whether it's decarbon or I'm trying to talk Masadur and others that are in the market, I'm benchmarking, so I set goals and targets for myself. One, the market need today in emerging markets, in Egypt, in small companies, is efficiency. how do you reduce your cost? Because the cost of water, the cost of electricity and everything is soaring, right? So the need is there. I mean, I just want to say that we're not waiting on an international pressure to come for us to become more responsible in how we consume so that we can become better savers. So I think that we just need to look at it in a different way. The optimization and circularity and all of that, it's just, if you just do a little bit of awareness building, it's happening already. And if you dig around, I mean, I'm seeing people are making bags, recycled bags, fashion, upcycling, recycling. It's happening on the ground in Egypt. It's not outside. So I think I want to look at the market in a way to recognize that it's not just that we need to comply or have a stick, but we also have to look at the opportunity. Part of it, the efficiency that you can achieve, but also the revenue that you can generate when you start to look at it.
I was reading a report that came out of Germany that said that we are one of the few countries in the world that have 100% recycling of waste.
الست
Because it's
المصرية شاطرة جدا في
handpicked,
الموضوع ده
actually.
by the way. احنا nothing goes to waste at home. Okay, كل حاجة بتطلع بنستخدمها efficiently, effectively. It's fully circular. I just want to also talk about carbon markets. The carbon markets is a way that the regulator is incentivizing, and there is a huge opportunity there also. I mean, what I'm missing is when we explain that you need to monitor and report, it's actually, again, as a starting point, because if you identify the opportunities where you can capture all, you can issue certificates for all and carbon credits, and that's a revenue generating model too. So again, the market is here and it is happening. It's just about how some of us can move faster.
Thank you. Mr. Ihab?
The first intervention is taking from Dr. Abdelhamid Bishara. We finalized the first of its kind rating tool for SMEs, and it's currently accredited by the Central Bank in Greece, the FRA, Financial Regulatory Authority in Greece, and we will introduce it to the Egyptian market very soon, and it is in compliance with the EU taxonomy. But despite that, we are co-partners in developing the tool. I don't think it will have this so much impact. If you allowed me, and across my research for SMEs, it's green procurement law. If we went to green public procurement law, the issue will be solved so much quickly, and there is a number of case studies. And I think the Ministry of Planning is, in cooperation with the Ministry of Finance, is currently preparing two very big projects. One is the green procurement law. I appreciate if you can be on the board of the law writing, you will facilitate it. And the second is the first of its kind, PPP, public-private partnership law. And there is also a third project with the USAID that is working on greening the national budget. I think these three laws together will drive a lot what's happening on the ground.
Thank you. Dr. Angie? Or well, I'm looking for anybody, but okay,
yeah.
Dr. Angie, and then okay, Marish, Dr. Angie, if we yes, go ahead, please.
Sustainability and sustainable management. I took the chance to teach the course, and after the first 3-4 classes, I started to realize that the student feeling bored. The discussion is very rigid, carbon markets, sustainability, many laws, many committees. So I shifted the strategy, and I asked the student to go on the websites of B&G and Unilever, find specific KPIs. Thankfully, they are reporting many insightful information, and behind those KPIs there are specific initiatives and specific projects, and then we started to find what are the obstacles facing those companies to run those projects. Then we discovered that the discussion is becoming warm again. They start to find specific ways in which companies are applying sustainability. I believe, and I remember after the end of this course, a number of students told me this way of tackling sustainability is very different. many of the students nowadays realizing exactly what is sustainability, more than even us, climate change and all those matters. But how is this adopted in the college and the higher education institutions is becoming, our needs to become very different. Thank you so much.
Please go ahead.
Hello. Hello. Yeah. I have a question to Randa Hamid from Okaz Portfolio, if I may. Regarding the Egyptian market, how do you think the Egyptian market is currently developed for accepting, or for the Egyptian investors for requesting ESG compliant companies?
Okay. Thank you, Safa, for the question. Actually, I was just, thank you, AUC, for this roundtable discussion, which is very enlightening. And as we spoke, I was coming to find out how I can help my investors. I had some requests for green portfolios, and I was wondering how I was going to choose companies that comply with sustainability. And I found that quite difficult task. I was looking at the 240 listed companies we have listed on the stock exchange, and I actually came here to find out what can we do to really select. I was going to select 2 or 3 companies, and that wouldn't make a portfolio. So this has been a very enlightening session, and it is challenging, Safa. It's not easy, but what I can say is that just to comment on what I've heard today is I believe we can't go one way of enforcing companies to comply. I think it has to come from the household, as we said, education, awareness. And it has to come, like I was telling people when they asked me how to convince people to invest. Before you invest, you economize. With the little children, you tell them to economize on what they're using, paper, whatever it is. Then start saving, then invest. I think it's the same thing with being sustainable and being able to comply with sustainability. It has to have some incentives from the regulators, whether it's taxes or something to incentivize companies to comply with the standards. And it has to come from within, from the DNA. It has been challenging. I'm waiting to find something from the regulators, maybe the carbon market. We will be the first Africa carbon market, right, that for the certificates. And I think that will make it easier to be able to choose companies that are probably have carbon credits, and we could invest in these companies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sorry, Mark. I think it's also PwC, so.
Okay, so allow me to introduce myself. My name is A. Abdelaziz. I'm an ESG manager in PricewaterhouseCoopers. Secondly, I just wanted to thank everyone for the amazing and fruitful insights. My question is more of just an expansion of this discussion. You had mentioned that pressure or change comes from within. We've talked about investor pressure, we've talked about regulations, but I'm curious to know how you believe we can really embed sustainability within the board itself from top management. I don't think we've really discussed that, and it's very important to really tap into that.
Okay, I need one person to respond to that because we're already at behind schedule, so one person. Ghada, please go
I'll
ahead.
just give example of what we've done at Qala Holdings. So, I mean, I think that it is critical that you have tops down, and the conviction has to come from top management. The case for why you should invest in transitioning needs to be sold there. So capacity building of the board, the training of the board, having a sustainability committee at the board level that I'm proudly a member of, having a chief sustainability officer introduced, but the function overall with clarity and facilitating and coordinating across. But having that happen at that very top level is absolutely, you cannot do it without it, because they're the ones who also have the oversight, but they're looking at the governance and the sustainability governance and how it's done, and the profitability and the revenue, and their eyes is in the long term. So they're the ones you need to have the buy-in with, and in fact, they do provide a lot of support. So I think this is a very critical point to never.
Thank you very much. Now to the most courageous person on the table, Dr. Reem have decided that she will be able to summarize what we've just mentioned, all of these value information in 5 minutes, right? So we'll have 5 minutes on the clock.
I'll do my best. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today at AUC to discuss the sustainability-related financial reporting and the general requirement of IFRS S1 and S2 climate-related disclosure. Thank you, Jin Sharif, for this opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Noah Randy, for organizing this successful roundtable, and Dr. Khalid Dahawi for moderating the discussion. I want also to extend a special thank you to the expert audience who have provided their valuable insights on this important topic. Your knowledge and experience are crucial to advancing conversation around sustainability and financial reporting. And your contributions to the discussion today have been invaluable. So I'll do my best to conclude this roundtable. I provide a brief summary of the key takeaways from our discussion and offer some reflections on the significance of these topics. So today we highlighted the importance of implementing IFRS S1 and S2, which can bring about long-term value creation, enhance risk management, and improve stakeholder relationships. The IFRS S1 sets out disclosure of material information about sustainability-related risks and opportunities, whereas IFRS S2 sets out disclosure of material information about climate-related risks and opportunities, which includes SASB standards, climate-related industry-based requirement, incorporate TCFD recommendations, requires disclosure of information about physical risks, transition risks, and climate-related opportunity. We highlighted the 4 pillars of the core content framework aligned with the TCFD recommendations, which are governance, strategy, risk management, and I would love to talk more about metrics and targets, which I'll maybe describe very quickly this last component, which is, in my opinion, extremely important because it will help companies identify the exact metrics to be used and monitor sustainability-related risks and opportunities, including their exact definition and external validations. This, I think, is extremely important. Implementing these standards is crucial for companies to drive long-term value creation, improve their risk management, and enhance their relationships with all the stakeholders. For that, companies can begin this extremely hectic work by implementing these standards and by collecting relevant data using tools such as the SASB, TCFD, and GRI. Data collection is a challenging process, specifically in our region. But there are a number of steps that companies can take into account to make this process much more easier. This might include identifying the sustainability risks and opportunities that are most material to their business and prioritize those for data collection and reporting. Establishing clear process for the data collection, validation, and reporting, and ensure that the process is well communicated to all relevant stakeholders. Leveraging existing tools and platforms to streamline the data collection and reporting. For that, as Ms. Maiza mentioned, we have a number of software solutions that are available, and actually we are teaching a lot of them here at AUC in our courses that can help companies collect, analyze, and report on sustainability-related financial performance. And finally, engaging with internal and external stakeholders to gather feedback and have extra information about the sustainability reporting efforts and identify areas for improvement. We also discussed how GRI and how the integrated reporting framework is extremely important to provide a comprehensive view of an organization's sustainability and financial performance, because it enhances the way the organization think, plan, react, and report on their business. It is also an opportunity to communicate to all the stakeholders a concise, integrated story about their business and how they can drive and create a long-term value. By working together, we can ensure that the reporting frameworks and tools used here by our companies are evidence-based and grounded in the latest research, which I believe will lead to a more effective sustainability reporting. Working in partnership with the industry inspire us, academia, to provide optimal programs, courses, workshops, and other development opportunities for the future leader in sustainability, which helps to create this pipeline of talent that is well equipped to address the challenges, the sustainability challenges of the futures. We look forward to continuing this incredible work together and seeing the progress that companies in our region can make in integrating sustainability into their operations and reporting on their performance. And in closing, I want to thank you all again, our speakers, Dr. Dalia Abdelkader, Ms. Maisa, for this incredible speech, and all our guests for sharing their insights and perspectives. And I believe by working together, we can make a difference in shaping a more sustainable future for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Reem. Before we close, Dr. Noah, who's been the mastermind behind this, has just informed me that there will be a white paper coming out of this that we will share with everybody. We also would really appreciate if you can join us with more activities, because this is the future. And we are, as AUC, as business schools especially, are very interested in this topic. So there will be more activities. We'll also share with you our electronic version of our AUC Sustainable Report that we've been having now for the last 6 or 7 years. So thank you very much for everybody, and hopefully we'll see you again. And we are only 5 minutes, so it's Egyptian time. Thank you. Bye-bye. Can you please join us for, we want to take a photograph for everybody, of participants and observers, please. Thank you.
If we can have it here on the stage, please. Can everyone come on the stage for a group photo? And then we'll be having lunch outside the terrace.